David Spriggs, and he's going to come and join us now. There we go, tips for easing the adoption of your automated business processes. So Dave, thank you very much for preparing this, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks much. So I recently worked for a company that underwent a rapid period of growth, coincidentally the same company that Andrew used to work for, and their manual processes couldn't cope with the rate of expansion. At one point there were 20 people a day joining the company, and that was literally 20 people sitting in reception every day waiting to start their new job. So a business process automation solution was required to help the company keep up with this rate of expansion. And I'd like to share some of what we learned along the way implementing K2 with you. From a technology perspective, currently I'm working with Data3, developing K2 solutions for their clients. Previously, I've been a content and collaboration manager, working with Andrew at Arrow, and prior to that, SharePoint consultant and developer. From a technology perspective, I've been working with SharePoint and SmartForms and Black Pearl with Andrew at Arrow, and prior to that, using InfoPath and SharePoint Workflow since 2007, and SharePoint Server since when it was SharePoint Portal Server and Windows SharePoint Services. So, why did we use K2? What was our problem? So I was back in 2011, 2012. I was part of a very small team. Actually, it was just me and one consultant. We were responsible for building SharePoint solutions with InfoPath, managing our servers, managing our intranet. Our company had a significant number of business processes that required the completion of paper-based forms. The manual execution of these forms resulted in delays, loss of productivity, inconsistent data, errors through multiple manual data entry, lack of sales reporting, as Andrew's mentioned, and many more things. We had lots of paper forms that typically we estimated would take up to like half an hour every time someone wanted to complete and then submit for approval a paper form. We knew automating these processes would not only reduce times to complete the process, but also improve much better data quality in the applications throughout our business, but also increase the productivity of the company. However, after deploying our first SharePoint workflow and InfoPath form, we realised that we needed some more tools, some better tools to make it easier to update and manage. So what from K2 did we like? Well, as we were a small team, we needed tools to be able to rapidly develop, deploy and update solutions with much less effort than the current tools that we were using. As Andrew's mentioned, K2 is good for change. You can easily update something that you've deployed. We also needed much more functionality out of the box than we had with our existing SharePoint and InfoPath solution. We needed functionality such as escalation, delegation, out of office, redirection, things that you'd have to build in to a SharePoint InfoPath solution. We also needed capability to integrate with our existing systems. SharePoint was something that we already had, but as our organisation was expanding rapidly, they were planning much more bigger systems, such as SAP. So we had to have something that we could, in the future, integrate with these future line of business systems. So we found that K2 Black Pearl SmartForms met these requirements, so we started a project to implement them alongside our SharePoint 2010 implementation. So how do you ensure that once that your automated process can be successfully adopted in your business? Having access to full digital tools aren't all the answer, and the work doesn't finish once you stop and run, package and deploy. Well, that's a challenge in itself. You do need to consider how that automated process is going to be received by the staff using it and the business unit that might be managing it. You still have a technically great solution, but they can fail through poor adoption. So I'm going to share with you 5 tips from the lessons that we've learned along the way that might help you. So tip number 1, invest some time with the process owner on administering the process. We found that online training isn't enough, so we provided a fair bit of training for process owners and their administration teams on things like using their process portal, one of the things that Andrew mentioned about how to get reports, what to do if people have problems with the process. And, but it turned out that some individual coaching was required. We needed to spend time with them to make sure that the individuals in the business unit team that were managing the process were comfortable with the tools that we were giving them. And they could manage the automated version of their process effectively. Although us as the development team, we had built the process, it was still the business that was responsible for it, and it was still the business that would be managing it going forward. So tip 2, ensure those completing the process have a way to ask for help. Our company had a help desk system, and it was really for reporting problems with IT systems. Non-IT business units that provided services such as payroll, they didn't have access to this, and or any other system of their own for managing requests for their service. Staff just knew who to call, so you had a problem with payroll, you knew to call payroll, you didn't call IT to sort that problem out. So for example, if someone had a problem with, so for example, a leave application, that's one of the first things that we did with K2. Say for example, the manager had gone away without approving it. This is a problem really to be solved by the business unit managing that process. So this is a process administrator's problem to talk with the user and help them maybe redirect their task to somebody to approve. It wasn't a failure of an IT system. It can't be allocated to an IT support team to be fixed. But what happened in these early deployments was staff member had an electronic form, they had a problem, so that they logged a call with the IT help desk. The call couldn't be transferred through to payroll because payroll didn't have access to the system. So the call was routed through to the development team. So this was a problem that consumed a large amount of our time, and so you need to make it easy and make sure that people participating in the process knew who they had to call to get help with the process. So tip 3, plan time to help with training materials. We were a small team, and as part of the engagements that Andrew did with people in the business, it was the process owner or someone in their team that was going to be responsible for producing training materials for their automated process. But it quickly became apparent to us that although they might be the subject matter expert for their process, they needed some help with some of the aspects of the automation. So the problem that we found with this was that a lack of clear guidance to the staff and people using the process led to some confusion, which in turn led to people logging calls with the IT help desk, which in turn led to more work for our team. So go back to tip 2, ensure that those participating in the process have an easy way to contact the people to help them. Tip 4, to run lunch and learn sessions about working with tasks. K2 provides great functionality for working with tasks. There are lots of features such as out of office, about redirection, delegation, being able to respond to tasks through email. So you would get an email notification to say that an approval was required, and you could then just reply to that email with accept or reject. And but other than that, sometimes it's not immediately obvious how and when you can use the other options that are available to you. Our first few processes that sort of Andrew alluded to, they were kept deliberately simple. Our organisation was under quite a lot of stress. It was expanding from at the beginning of 1 year from 200 people to the end of the year to being 1,000 people. So there was a lot going on in our organisation. And one of the things that we were told to do, it had to be a light, whatever we deployed, it was a light touch. We didn't really want people to consume lots of people's time. So running training programs and things wasn't something that we could be able to do. So we focused on initially some simple forms, forms that were fill out a form, click the button, someone would approve it, and it would be done. And people were very comfortable in doing this, just filling out an online form, pressing the button, maybe replying accept or approve or reject, and it was done. And they were very happy with doing this. We'd provided a whole bunch of a link or reply to it and found out that somebody else had already actioned those tasks. So providing some training, some lunch and learn, some light guidance on how to work with tasks ahead of time before deploying your first few processes will certainly help you help some headaches along the way. So lastly, number 5, publish a page with the links to your processes. So one of the things that K2 doesn't have, it doesn't have a built-in portal with all the links to the forms that you're creating. So you'll need to have a bit of a discussion with your intranet team. You need to find a way of making your forms easy to find. Our intranet was a SharePoint 2010 intranet, so we took the option of just creating a SharePoint list with a few columns, title column, a description, a classification. We classified our forms by different areas of the business, and the URL of the form itself. And together that with some tweaking of search, it made a whole lot easier for people in the business to find the form that we're looking for, especially once the pace ramped up and Andrew was busy producing a form every 5 minutes. So I'm hoping that some of those things that might help with your implementations. So I'm happy to take questions, or I can be contacted at that address. Thank you.